Hey everyone, welcome back to the Convo Couch. I am Fiorella, and I am right here. It doesn't stay, so just turn it up, or I'll sit closer. I'm not pasta, so it doesn't have the same effect when I speak. But okay. I haven't done one of these in a while, and I figured it was due time to have one of these. Now, as you know, we're still demonetized, right? I'm really happy that Ford Fisher, Jamaro Thomas, who else? I think that's it. They got their channels back as far as demonetization, but we still haven't. And YouTube still won't tell us specifically what videos are harmful. So I'm going to continue talking about this because we're going to continue making noise, because I think it's important that people realize that eventually this is going to come for everybody. We said the same thing when it came for Alex Jones, that it was going to eventually come for everybody, right? But let me just make sure that you guys are all on the stream. I see Rokfin. I don't have YouTube up. I can see some of the YouTube stuff right now that's coming up on the screen, but just bear with me a couple minutes. Please like, share, because like I said, we're not in the algorithm anymore, so we're not getting like all those alerts like you normally would get. Please still like and share on YouTube, because we are going to show them that we are fighting this. And hi fams. And also on Rokfin, if you haven't joined, please join. It's an awesome stream, and you guys can tip us on there as well, because we don't have monetization. So let's get to it, because I really wanted to really just come and have a conversation about what's been going on. And I think a lot of the people who watch our channel, who watch our show, really, like, you're smart. Unlike other people, you grasp the concept of really what censorship is and what it isn't. So let's clarify for those that, you know, think censorship is not, being demonetized is not censorship. It absolutely is. I mean, if you're completely unable to, like, they're attacking your economic pockets, right? They're going after your money. They're going after the ways. All of that stuff is true. But more than anything, too, they're going after you guys, like your ability to watch what you want and support what you want. And that's the whole bigger realm of everything. And what we're seeing and what we've been seeing the last few months are things that Pasta and I continuously warned everybody about. We warned them about Joe Biden and how the incoming administration, because they were so tied to big tech and so tied to so much money, that millions and millions of dollars were given to the Biden administration by Google, by, you know, who owns YouTube and Twitter and Facebook and all these big tech giants and social media platforms that have become so substantial, and the public square, that this was going to be worse in terms of the crypto fascism emerging. And I have to tell people, there's this sector of the left that we talk about often, unfortunately. The synthetic left, the boutique left, the neo-progressives, call them whatever you want. Don't call them leftists. Don't call them progressive. I don't care. But right now, those people are the new liberals. And I'll tell you exactly why they're the new liberals. Because the liberals back in the day used to be against censorship. They used to be pro-working class. They used to be, against the idea that you had to stop free speech. And now we're forward here in the year 2021, and we're seeing so many freaking supposed leftists, right? They'll have like anarcho commie or like Antifa or like socialist or Marxist, or they'll display everything that they are. And yet they're there cheering for censorship. They're there cheering for the police state. They're actually cheering for the police state. And it's not just happening to conservatives that they're, maligning. And I'm not saying I even agree with the ideology of most conservatives, but they have the right to express their opinions as much as I disagree with them. And they've been painting a giant brush on every single person that's actually like a Republican or a Trumper. They'll say like, everybody's a Nazi, everybody's a fascist. Now that sort of paintbrush is covering people who are also on the left, but don't abide by their rules, the gatekeeping that they're engaged in. Like, you cannot talk to somebody we don't like who doesn't meet our standards. You cannot even have them on your show, even though people like Nomiki Konst and people like Anna Kasparian, honestly, or when one of us has somebody that is a conservative or simply somebody that they don't like, they'll say, oh my God, you have to cancel them. They're platforming fascists. And all of this has happened in the last couple weeks, in the last few weeks, since it's escalated, right, since January. But it really did start towards the end of the Bernie Sanders campaign, where there was that whole, wow, like Trump is doing so bad on COVID, we have to get him out. And all the people that I knew, literally, that were like, oh, like I am never voting for Joe Biden. Joe Biden is just as bad as Trump. As soon as AOC went in there and started making videos where she was like, you know what, we have to like, it's okay. Like, I understand that Joe Biden isn't there for progressives, but we really have to defeat Donald Trump and we have to take them out. And I'm telling you, AOC, I know for a fact, AOC convinced several people I know to stop holding Biden accountable and say, you know what, we got to support Biden. We have to turn around and do that, right? Guys, that was by design. That was by design. AOC is there to literally move everybody that was a progressive or a Bernie-crat or any of that stuff back into the Democratic Party. And the thumbnail, I don't know why YouTube is showing an old thumbnail, but on Rokfin, you can see the thumbnail. Somebody drew a caricature of Bernie and AOC dragging somebody with like a communist, you know, a hammer and sickle and all these things, and dragging them towards relevance. And in the thumbnail, we fixed it and put Democratic Party, because that's where they're dragging them to. And as somebody who worked really hard for Bernie and was for Bernie for the last 5 years, I can take on new information and be like, you know what? Like, I'm not following him here. I'm not following them back into the arms of the fucking party that is the reason we don't have a good president, is the reason we don't have fair elections, is the reason that people are getting censored. Why would I follow that? I don't care if Bernie got me, you know, radicalized in many ways. He did. He wasn't the only thing, but he was a major part of that. And I've always said I'll thank him for it, but that ends there. When you start supporting neocon foreign policy, which he started doing in more openly, like with Russiagate in his second round of the campaign, and Chris Hedges talked about how if Bernie ran again, his campaign in 2020 would be completely different than in 2016. And it was. Come in Matt Dusk, Center for American Progress, his foreign policy, and all these things that were happening. And I was right away, a lot of us who were part of the 2016 campaign, as far as, you know, volunteering and as far as like being aware of it, we were like, what is going on right away? And we saw it for what it was. And we got so much crap for saying, wait a minute, this isn't okay. This isn't good. All these people coming in, they're all consultants, DC Beltway types. Like, this is not how it goes. And a lot of the burners were just there to be sycophants to Bernie. And that's something that I learned really early on in 2019, when I was like, hey, like Tulsi Gabbard has really decent foreign policy and she has decent, she talks about the national security state. Oh, but no, she's Modi and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, but wait a minute. Like, okay, like, can we like separate this? You know, Kamala, Obama, they were like BFF with Modi. Oh no, but like, oh no, but she went on Fox. Oh no, but she did this. The reason I'm bringing up Tulsi Gabbard is because literally, as somebody that was a Bernie supporter for 5 years, people like bring up Tulsi every time they see me. People who have an interest in like maligning, right? Who are literally going into the conversation to bring up something that she said or she did. And I don't agree with Tulsi on everything, and I always said that. But the things she has talked about were elections, the national security state, whistleblowers, all these things and foreign policy that Bernie really lacked. And so that's why I was like saying, hey, she's a better alternative than Elizabeth Warren. Oh no, Bernie Warren. And look what happened. Warren was one of the reasons Bernie Sanders lost, because she refused to drop out and she refused to actually be a comrade and support Sanders. And yet you still have people who consider her a progressive despite all of these things. So the Bernie movement had an umbrella that encompassed many people. It encompassed people who were disaffected Republicans, people who were looking for something, young people who were just getting into politics, some Democrats who wanted something a little bit like Elizabeth Warren, and it encompassed just all these people in 2016 and 2015. When in 2020 all this happened, that sort of started showing you the cracks in the division of the fact that neither the Republicans or the Democrats or the right or the left are a monolith, right? I'm specifically talking about ideology. We're not a monolith. Even people, I disagree with the vast majority now of the Bernie movement on so many things because they're taking their cues from the Democratic Party. They're taking their cues from a new form of neoliberalism that is set to be the adoptive form for the next generation, for Gen Z. My sister's Gen Z, and she absolutely tells me how a lot of the people her age, she's 18 now, a lot of the people her age really like AOC. She's like, Gen Z really likes AOC. And that's the point. Like, they're supposed to like her. They're supposed to, she's supposed to represent this idea of intersectionality, of a woman of color being in the front, of people, advancing in society in that way. She says great things like the slogans of a Green New Deal. She says great things like Medicare for all. She'll wear a mask. She'll wear a sweater. It's all this part of this branding, right? But she doesn't do anything to actually advance the working class and the things that we right now more than anything need. And neither is the squad, and neither is the vast majority of Congress doing anything. Right now, they're sitting there focused on impeachment when people still haven't gotten their fucking stimulus check. The $2,000 went to $1,400 and might go under to $1,000. And that's like going to be by April, which is half the year's will almost be gone. And they've given people a $1,200 check plus $600, if that, because not everybody qualifies. And now the qualifications are going to be more difficult to achieve. So why is it such a travesty to point out the very obvious that AOC and the progressive movement in its entirety, Bernie Sanders and the entire movement was entirely co-opted? The moment they started to actually put in consultant beltway types, that campaign was entirely co-opted. And you've seen me sit here, interview people who worked for the Sanders campaign, and like literally talk about this, expose a lot of the players. And in the beginning, I got a lot of crap for it. As we moved along, people were like, holy shit, yeah. Like, obviously, the election malfeasance also played a really big part. But you cannot defeat a corrupt system by going in there and giving power and bringing in these same oligarchs and bringing them in and letting them have their hands into a grassroots campaign. That's not how it works. And this happens all the time. We're in a cycle. Humanity's in a fucking cycle. We're in a cycle where now we're going from the age of just darkness to like an age where people are waking up and seeing all these things. And I think that started with Sanders, but it by no means is ending there, right? We're in this fight right now, and I think many people see it and many don't, but I think more and more are seeing it where we're fighting against fascism. But it's not the Klansman in a suit that's going to show up with a horse and tiki torches. It's not, this guy wearing a Confederate flag that is really the huge danger. The huge danger is big tech and this cryptic fascism that they're pushing in right now. That is the 21st century of this type of fascism. That's what's happening. That's what it is. And the unfortunate part is that people that were deemed progressive and okayed to be just progressive enough and just leftist or anti-establishment enough, but not too much to actually be a viable threat to the national security state, to the military industrial complex, those people are being propped up as the new Obamas, as the new generation of leaders. I think back in October, I said AOC is the new Obama. And of course, people got angry. Like, how can it's like, but this is what it is, because you need a younger face and a more intersectional face to get through this motion of what they really want. Is they want us subdued, they want us quiet, they want us sticking to their fucking narrative, and if you stray away from that, you will be vilified and you will be maligned, or as has happened throughout history, you'll be gone, right? So pick or choose, because they did, in a way, metaphorically, they did get rid of Bernie Sanders. That Bernie Sanders, that was the idea of this fighter, this guy that's going against the establishment. That guy is gone. That guy is gone. And I have no problem saying that. Like, I don't understand why people have such a hard time admitting to that, like saying that. And it's crazy to me that they can't even see, because I haven't changed my ideology. Like, I'm still like for Medicare for all. I still want something like an OFF Act or something like a Green New Deal, not way better than what AOC presented. I want a working class coalition. I want people to be able to afford to live, like all these things, right? I'm still against the interventionist foreign policy of the neocons in both the Democrat and the Republican Party. I'm still for all these things. Yet, the difference is now I am even more aware of just how bad it is regarding the national security state, regarding the fact that the rabbit hole goes down deeper, and just how powerful these people are. And I don't think it's one cabal of elites the way, you know, Q or some of these right-wingers say. I think it is just the wealthy do come together and they do make decisions that benefit them because they're afraid of you. They're afraid of us because we are the many and they are the few. So obviously they're going to be scared and they're going to take their own interests first. And that's the world we live in. We live in an empire. We live in an empire in decay, and an empire that's falling apart, in an oligarchy. And we don't have the freedom that is espoused in our Constitution and our Declaration of Independence. And this is something that liberals always roll their eyes at when a Republican brings it up. But I don't, because if you're going to say you are a country, and if you're going to say you're going to follow these rules, you're not following, like, they're not following them. You have to follow them, but they don't. And it is in our Declaration of Independence that if they fail to do what they need to do, you have the right to overthrow your fucking government. It is there. I'm not making this up. It's there. People forgot that part, that they need to be held accountable, that these people are public fucking servants. They're not celebrities to go on Vanity Fair and Teen Vogue. They're not supposed to be on RuPaul's Drag Race. They're not supposed to have talent agents. They're not supposed to fucking be worshipped like some sort of fucking deity. Why did we leave the monarchy? Like, what is this? This is feudalism. This is feudalism in the modern age, because now I can't even get on here and say the same things without being censored. And I can't even go out there and post anything on Facebook without it getting like targeted or things like that. It's getting really, really bad. And people are still in the clouds. They're still like sleeping. They're like, oh, well, Biden, you know, at least we got rid of Trump and you have to give Biden a chance. They're always going to have excuses. They're always going to have excuses. Like, oh, Biden just got in there. Oh, wait, you have to wait until, you know, he actually has time to do anything. Oh, wait, but it's COVID and Trump did that. Oh, wait, but like halfway through his presidency, it's going to be like, well, you know, well, you don't want Tom Cotton to be president, do you? And so the cycle continues. It's a perpetual cycle. The problem is that the left, you know, what is the considered left in America, I don't consider it left, but this is what is considered left. They are manipulated through emotions. The Democratic Party manipulates them through emotions. This is why you see AOC using Instagram, which is primarily a medium that the younger generations use, and using all of it for PR and like public narrative control. Oh, sure, let's prop up AOC so she can tell her story and like, you know, have a heart-to-heart with Americans who are actually really mad at us right now because we didn't give them shit during a pandemic. We didn't give them crap, and they still don't have health care. Holy crap. And like, you know, and this insurrection, yeah, let's use that, which by the way, the FBI, there are people involved in the insurrection that were FBI, so duh, we told you so. And they do this because they're like, look, like if you have a connection with somebody via emotion, right, it gets a lot of people on the left, because primarily the left is always like, oh, like we want equality, we want this and that. But the problem with that is they don't think logically. They're literally you weaponizing emotions on these people to get them to sort of follow a cultish behavior. It's the same thing we saw with MAGA following Q. It's the same exact thing, except it's a different ideology. That's all it is. It's still manipulation. It is still a cult. It is still people who are being emotionally reactive, who are looking for somebody to lead them, for somebody to tell them what to do. Because when you have a system where everything is falling apart, people are lost oftentimes, and they need to believe in something. And politics, like religion, has become that thing to cling on to. And so that's what we're seeing now, which is why I've had a few of my friends comment like, dude, it's like these people are like mentally like brainwashed. It's like they were replaced. And it's true. I mean, we have some people who have known us for years who are like, you know, oh my God, Fiorella said this tweet and it's taken out of context, but I'm going to ignore that. And I'm going to ignore the fact that I know her. And say, yeah, like she's totally being so fash right now. Oh my God. # fash squad. Like it is this mentality that is taking over these people. And unfortunately for the left, the real left, the very tiny contingent that we have of anti-imperialist, anti-censorship left, that it's those people that are supposed to be on your side are being used by the Democratic Party and by the establishment, right? Because they both benefit, both the Republican Party and the Democratic Party benefit from manipulating these people through emotions, no matter where they lie on the political spectrum, and getting them to believe what they want them to believe, getting them to continue being divided, getting them to continue to say, you know what, Republicans are awful, they need to go, you know, Mitch McConnell, and then there's Nancy Pelosi. Yes, both Mitch McConnell and Pelosi are trash, but it's the idea that you have to pick one of these teams, and it's this idea that you have to do it because there's always a reason to do it. And so what we're seeing is that mixed with the takeover of big tech, with the obvious takeover of a bigger takeover from corporations who have amassed so much wealth, billions and billions and billions, up to the point of trillions now of dollars from COVID, while the vast majority of the working class has completely disappeared into complete poverty, and the middle class is almost non-existent. And because there is really no middle class, you guys, like the middle class is there in capitalism to believe that they could someday be part of this 1%. And now this 1% has turned into a 1% of a 1%. And the middle class has slowly become like dwindled into like the working class, because in reality all there ever is the working class, right? There's the working class, the people that work for a living, and the people that have to do shit, and there's the people who make money off of capital, off of telling somebody else what to do, off of stocks, off of doing absolutely nothing. And that's really what people have to understand, that there's no, don't use the language of the empire to let them have these classes divides, like, oh no, I'm middle class. No, we're all fucking working class. We're all fucking working class. And there are people who are better off than others who do become the petty bourgeois, who do become those people that, against their own, even at this point, against their own self-interest, they become tools of the oppressor. And by oppressor, I mean the empire we live in. And this empire we live in consistently and constantly right now is completely culpable for the death and destruction of millions of people in the Middle East, in Latin America, and throughout the global South in general. And that's something that Americans don't like to hear. They don't like to hear about foreign policy. This is why foreign policy rarely ever gets talked about, and why if you do talk about it, you're going to be maligned, called a conspiracy theorist, blah, blah, blah. And so we're entering the age of now, this is hindering on being neo-McCarthyism through the use of now the new war on domestic terror, this white supremacist terrorist groups that they're so dangerous that we have to watch out for. Now, like I've said many times on the show, I'm not saying white supremacy doesn't exist. It absolutely does. White supremacy exists for the simple fact that we literally have a mass group of people who bomb and extract resources from poor countries, sanction them, drone them, and those countries primarily are full of black and brown people. That's white supremacy. People who voted for Joe Biden voted for fucking white supremacy. People who voted for Donald Trump voted for white supremacy. Why? Because this country is founded on that. So you can disagree with that, but that's the reality. This country was founded on imperialism, and imperialism is a form of supremacy, because look who's in power, right? So, but what the liberals have turned this into is a witch hunt. It is a complete and total reemergence of the Red Scare era, where they were calling everybody a commie. Oh, you're a commie if you read this book. You're a commie if you associate with Charlie Chaplin. You're a commie if you say the word Russia. This is why I'm wearing my Putin shirt, because that's what it's become. Oh, you must be a Russian agent. Oh, you're a Syrian asset. You're a Nazi now, right? You're getting called now a Nazi. Somebody that's on the left, people that are on the left, like Glenn Greenwald, are getting called Nazis. I mean, this is crazy. It's crazy. And if you don't see a problem with it, it's not just a matter of disagreement, because this isn't just something you disagree on. This is a fundamental moral fight for what is right and what isn't. This is like a fight for the salvation of any sort of semblance of a chance that this country has at democracy or freedom. We're not a republic either for the conservative viewers. We're not that. We're not that at all. We don't have a constitutional republic right now. We have a oligarchy dominated by a very small group of people who don't and the people who control politicians who do not represent you and I. And that is a fact. And you can't just say that and continue going to vote for Democrats. Like, you can't do that. Like, it doesn't make any sense to continue perpetuating a system and a party that has continuously screwed you over and is diametrically opposed to any sort of semblance that you want. If you want the destruction of capitalism, you can't vote for a Democrat. You stop supporting the Democratic Party. If you want the destruction of imperialism, stop supporting them. And I don't have to say stop supporting the Republican Party, because I hope you understand that it goes both ways, right? The duopoly is the problem. And until we get rid of them, until people see past the only electoral way of electing progressives into a fucking dead party, we're not going to get past this. And it is because I say these things, and it is because I am anti-Democratic Party reform, because I don't believe they can be reformed, that I get all these progressives who are pro-Democratic Party reform, who want to continue wasting our fucking time and getting in our fucking goddamn way by putting in progressives who are literally, the vast majority of them, sell out before they even have a chance. And don't tell me that selling out if she doesn't take corporate money, that's no longer necessary. You know why it's no longer necessary? Because they have people they have duped to continue donating to them under this guise of, oh, they're progressive. Oh, they're part of Justice Democrat. Oh, they're part of Brand New Congress. Oh, they're part of DSA. Oh, yeah, it's okay. Like, no, like you can still sell yourself out if you're not doing shit for the people, and you're still making it look like you're doing shit. Because now what we're seeing is AOC is really good at tweeting. The squad is really good at tweeting. But when it comes down to legislation, They rarely do anything right. I gave Rashida Tlaib tabs for putting out that letter against mass surveillance, but it's a letter. We need legislation. We need actual people taking direct action. We need people, leaders who are going to go and say, you know what? We're going to have sit-in until we get Medicare for all. She could do that. They could fucking do that. Why aren't they doing it? You know why they're not doing it? Because it's beneficial to her career to not do that. Because if it was about you, she would do that. Because if it was anybody that calls themselves an actual leftist or actual socialist, and you're gonna fucking stand around and say, no, I'm not gonna say the word socialism, and you're gonna back away from it, and then you're gonna back away from fracking, from not fracking. You're gonna back away from the fact that Joe Biden is a piece of shit, warmonger, segregationist, racist, just as bad as the last one, if not actually worse, because he was a fucking architect. If you're gonna pretend that that's not there, if you're gonna support neocon foreign policy, if you're gonna be silent on the fact that Julian Assange is in Belmarsh prison right now because he's a fucking journalist, then what you're not representing me. You're not representing the left. You're representing the DC Beltway. And that is what happens to your progressives that you put in the fucking Democratic Party. And the ones that aren't there yet, they're busy kissing ass. They're busy kissing ass to the fucking squad so they get on their good side. Oh yeah, squad, I can't wait to join the squad. Yeah, that they're busy fucking kissing the ass of them, because you know what's going to happen as soon as they get in? They're going to follow like good little cogs of the machine. They're going to follow along with what they say. Because that's what it is, guys. It doesn't take a fucking rocket scientist to predict this, because if you watch what's happened throughout history is a really great tool to predict what happens in the future. And if you watch people's actions over their words and don't fall for platitudes, you can really see who they are. And with AOC's latest pro-censorship, go get these people speaking ill of me, go take them down. Go report them. Yeah, if they say anything negative about me, please report them. Like, excuse me? Do you not realize people are fucking busy being able to decide if they're going to buy insulin or pay their phone bill? Like, I don't understand, like, how stupid and how ignorant you have to be to focus all this shit on that. This whole fucking theatrics, they're all actors. They're all actors. They're all acting right now. And they're all distracting you with impeachment, with Marjorie Taylor Greene, with the next boogeyman, with fucking January 6th, with all these, like, war on domestic terrorism. They're distracting you from the fact that they haven't done shit for you. And people are falling for it. And that's the problem. And if you say anything against that now, oh, you're a misogynist, you're a racist, you're a sexist. Oh, because now they have AOC in the squad instead of having old white guys, right? It's just, and it sucks because, yeah, I think representation is important, but that doesn't supersede quality. It doesn't supersede who you are as a person. And if you're willing to fucking fight for me, I don't care what you look like. I don't care if you're a robot. I don't care. As long as you're willing to do the right thing. Like, it's irrelevant. And we're watching that divide right now on the left, where these people are just falling right for it and are going to be the new little cogs for the Democratic Party. They're over there. I have never seen more Trump focus than I did in the last year, even especially the last half of the past year, where they manipulated this whole election. They used COVID to their advantage, right? COVID is obviously a virus, but they sure as hell exploited the hell out of it for specific reasons that we now know is this mass surveillance, mass censorship, completely just doing away with your basic human rights and still not giving you anything in the process. And you can't protest, oh, it's COVID. Or if you do protest, they want you to protest for certain things, but you can't protest for things that they say aren't okay. And then if you do protest, they're going to use their goons. They're going to use the national security state. They're going to use a police state. The police are an arm of the national security state and the military industrial complex. This is why they're armed like that. This is why they bring their weapons from abroad and use them on American civilians. And guess what? that is going to happen even more, because now that they know this boogeyman of the white supremacist terrorist, domestic terrorist that is hiding and is ready to get you, they have all these people living in fear, and they're fear mongering them into ratting out their neighbors, ratting out their families, becoming FBI informants, becoming pro-CIA, pro-FBI. Since when did the fucking left actually support the FBI or the CIA? Like, when did that happen? I mean, never, right? Like, this is what they do. This is fascism. Fascism, it's not going to come in a clown suit, in a clan suit. It is coming in a clown suit. It's coming in the face of the pretty intersectional fascist face. That is the fascism that it's coming. And the reason they're doing that, it's because people have the internet, people have more access to information. So they need to limit that access now, because people got too aware. So now they have to limit that access. They have to discredit everybody who speaks against the state narrative. And now they get to use identity politics to weaponize it and to get people to be subdued while they're getting screwed. As you are the sheep walking towards the slaughterhouse. And as a vegan, this is very, very, a very horrible image. And people they're just walking. They're just like, yeah, oh, look, it's the slaughterhouse looks like a nice house with lots of food, and it's beautiful, and it's made of gold, and there's rainbows all over it. But they don't know they're walking right into the slaughterhouse. That it doesn't get any more clear than that. And so the only way to really fight this right now is to not shut up about it. There's only so much power we have, right? And like, the left is a mess. You look at the Green Party, you look at MPP, you look at DSA, you look at all these orgs. They're either all co-opted, or there's just bad leadership, and there's infighting and all these things. None of that is enough to make you to say, go back to the Democratic Party, because there's a reason why all these organizations are failing too. It's not because it's not just because of the people that are working in them. No, some people are working really hard and they try to make things work and they do what they can. It's because the establishment doesn't allow people to succeed because they don't want outside cadres. Who's benefiting? Who's laughing about, people leaving MPP or people leaving the Green Party? Like, I've never endorsed MPP. I wasn't, I had my issues with them. We've talked about it here. But there are a lot of people very interested in its destruction. Same thing with every other org. There are a lot of people who have co-opted these organizations. That's the problem with centralized organizing. They get co-opted, especially if you're trying to work within the Democratic Party. Now, that is, again, it's no reason to say, you know what? Third parties, they're a mess. Let me go back and try to reform the Democratic Party. No. What you do is you realize that you're not going to have a multi-party system until you have a fair system in which to give a multi-party system the chance to compete with a duopoly. Because right now you have an oligarchy. They're not going to let you have a multi-party system. Green Party, MPP, Socialist, Alternative, DSA, any sort of contingent that wants to be a party is going to have to work within the confines of the duopoly. We don't have any power right now. The only power we have are our numbers. But people can't get their shit together because they're too busy focused on Jimmy Dore or on myself or on Niko or on Misty or on anybody that they deem is a fash now because they want to talk to somebody who might be a libertarian or something. And they're so hyper-focused on that. And that is by design, because while the left eats itself, who's winning? Really? The Democratic Party? The Republican Party? Their fundraising is great. Some people will be convinced to say, yo, the MPP sucks. Let's go back to the squad. Let's go back to reforming progressive. They're already doing that. That's what these people want. Just because these parties don't have their shit together, and they don't, doesn't mean you give up. And it doesn't mean that electoralism is the only way, because what needs to happen before you do any of that is a mass people's movement of demand. Workers need to unite, and we are all workers. Workers need to unite and unite in a massive movement across the board, across ideology, and demand several things, right? Whatever it is that you come to an agreement on, similar to a general strike, similar to an occupation. It cannot be a protest only. It's got to be something more tangible, where you cut the lines of the system. The system only functions because you function. You make it function. Every single day you go to work, whether you are a food worker, whether you're an Amazon driver, whether you are a doctor, a nurse, a teacher, all of these systems are falling apart right now. People are in danger of losing their jobs. It's really going to get bad. And if workers got together and said, we're not going to produce, until we own the means of production. You can call it whatever you want, but that's what it is. We need to control the means of production. And until workers demand that happen, they're not going to give it to you. They're not just going to stop. AOC, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, all these people, they're not going to just sit there and say, you know what, let's just give you this. Neither is Mitch McConnell. Neither is Ted Cruz. Neither of all these people. They don't care, because they get paid almost $200,000 a year. They have health care. They're fine. They could sit back and wait till next year to give you a stimulus. And because you didn't say anything before, when they gave a large transfer of wealth from you to Wall Street and to corporations, they're like, we'll do it again. That's what happened in 2009. When that happened, they'll do it again. They're going to keep doing it until you say enough. And it's not sufficient to talk about it on Twitter, and it's not sufficient to simply even for me to simply get on here and say this. What needs to happen is enough people need to be angry, and there are enough angry people out there to actually take back the reins of power, because we have nothing to lose but our chains. And I have no problem saying that, and I'll say it again. The Democratic Party did not free you of your chains. The Republican Party just has more obvious shackles on you, but the Democratic Party has pretty rainbow gold colored shackles on you. And there is a beautiful golden prison that you live in, and they give you just enough food to keep you happy, just enough scraps to keep you subdued. And that's the difference. That's the only difference. One is flat out obvious, which is why I don't spend my time calling it out, because you already know. It's the people who are still convinced that the Democratic Party is any different that still need to get it through their head. This is why we focus on the Democratic Party. It's not because I think that the Republicans are great. It's because people still believe that there's a difference, and it's one fucking big aisle. We've been told this, I don't know for how fucking long. It's one fucking big aisle. So you can't simply say that, oh, she's only focused on the Democratic Party because she supports Republicans. No. Why am I going to waste my time on the very obvious? The Democrats or Republicans tell you who they are. That they're like, yeah, we want to cut, we want to cut Social Security. We want to cut taxes. We don't believe in abortion. Like they tell you. Democrats pretend to be something they are not. And so to me, right now, in this imperative moment where we're being super highly censored, where we're being our civil liberties and our civil rights and the police state and all these things are happening, they're coming, and they're coming after us in a way that is so sneaky. It is a wolf in sheep's clothing. It is far worse to me what Democrats are doing, because people aren't seeing it, because people are being caught off guard, and they're not even realizing how they are becoming tools of the oppressor and oppressing the very own people they should be completely in alliance with. And it's crazy. It's crazy that this is happening. And I don't think people realize. I don't think most people realize. This is why I'm like, I don't think most people realize how bad this is and how dangerous and precarious of a moment we are in right now. And honestly, like, it's crazy and it's disheartening. But at the same time, I also see so many people who are like waking up and are really seeing what what is happening, and really, like, in spite of the propaganda, because I mean, to a degree, we do have to blame the mainstream media propaganda machine, right? Like, they're so powerful. They have all the tools, all the money, and they're working in tandem with the big tech, who's working in tandem with 3-letter agencies, who's working, of course, on behalf of our government to do this to us, right? And that is what's happening. So to the people who say things like, oh, like, so and so is fascist for talking to a boogaloo boy, or so and so is fascist. I mean, I've seen so many white women call black men Nazis. I can't even tell you how ridiculous that is. And same to me too. Like, the vast majority of the people saying these things aren't even, it's crazy. Like, the Democratic Party and the liberals, they weaponize identity when it's conducive to what they want. But the moment you are one of those identities, those tokenized people, and you stray away from your place, oh boy, do they get so mad. Do they attack you more? I mean, look at how they attack people like Tulsi Gabbard. Look at how they attack people like Niko House. It's just crazy to me how if you are a person of color and you don't agree with the whole, oh, Kamala Harris, AOC, oh my God, let's have a fan fest. Oh my God, I feel so proud that we have the first female VP that is, Indian and African American, and I feel so represented. Oh my God. That is like, if you're not with that because fucking Kamala Harris's record, that she didn't win a single delegate because she's so horrible at her job, and that she has jailed more people of color than literally any prosecutor. It's when you stray from that, they're like, no, I can't. They hate you more. And that they show their racism through that. And like I said, I've experienced so much racism from liberals that the reason it's worse, it's because it's not blatant, it's subdued. And they're white knights, and they think they can come over here and dictate who is worthy of leftism and who is not. And it's those people that are just as vile and horrible as the neoliberals, the people who are for Hillary Clinton. It's the same thing. It's now they've just replaced the face with a more intersectional, younger face. And that's what's happening, guys. And it's going to continue to happen. And tomorrow we're going to have Max Blumenthal on. We're going to talk censorship. I just wanted to announce that too as I wrap up. I've been rambling here for a while, but people, the most amazing prominent voices are getting called fascists right now by a sector of the left, and it's crazy. Oh, and they're literally going, they tried to hack my Twitter, and I know they tried to hack Misty's Twitter too, and they're doing all of this, right? And they're wasting their time, taking screenshots and taking all of this to discredit people. And I keep thinking to myself, I'm like, there's a point where this is not just dumb people on the internet. There's a point where this is targeted, right? Because look what happened to our channel getting demonetized, and Niko's channel, and Frank Analysis, and a bunch of other channels that I don't even know. And look at who it's happening to, and who is staying afloat, right? It's the people that are most outspoken, the people that are against the state narrative, that question things, and it's going to continue to come after everybody. So for right now, what we have to do is support independent media in any way, shape, or form that you can, so we can continue being here until forever, until they kick us out. Because the worst thing you can do is let these people shut you up. That's what they want. That's what the establishment wants. They want the left fighting each other. They want the left fighting the right. They want this whole fighting. Because when you're fighting, you're not looking to see who's really pulling the strings. And right now, those of us who are trying to inform people that it's a waste of time to fight with a working class proletariat, whether they're, you know, they voted for Trump or not. It's a waste of fucking time because you're both getting screwed by the system. The system is screwing all of you. So focus your fucking energy on the culprits doing that. Don't waste your time focusing on these people. And these people are not gonna stop, because we are detrimental to their cause, because these people who are attacking prominent actual leftist voices, actual anti-imperialist, anti-security state people, those people want to reform the Democratic Party. They want to be the new gatekeepers, the TYTs, the Nomiki Kants, the Sam Cedars. They want to be the new prominent left voices. Their pay depends on it. They don't depend on people. They depend on duping people, and they depend on corporations. So that's the rebranding of the progressive movement. It's just now one giant PR campaign set and working for the Democratic establishment, so you don't get to organize outside of it, organize third-party cadres, organize a movement, because they want you to think that it's not possible. Yet every major country, and every country that is considered a third world country by our standards, look what's happened in Ecuador. Look what happened in Bolivia. Look what happened in Chile. I mean, if the global south can do it, why can't Americans? Well, they're too busy being duped by the liberals. And so the only way to get this message out there is to continue watching independent media, real independent media, independent voices, and continue talking about mass censorship, because it is not a right-wing talking point. The deep state isn't a fake news right-wing talking point. This is all very real, and what's happening was predicted by several people, including Whitney Webb. I mean, with the technocratic takeover, right? And this is nothing. This is part of the whole cycle that needs to happen. The question is, will America's season finale be right down the path of fascism, or are we going to be able to stop it and curtail that spread? Because people are, by the time they realize what's happening, it's going to be too late if we don't continue supporting voices of dissent. If voices of dissent must be supported now more than ever. This is the Orwellian age we have entered. This is what Orwell said on his deathbed would happen. This is it. We're here. It's not a novel. It's reality. It's not an exaggeration. Exaggeration is what happened on January 6th was an insurrection. It was not. That's an exaggeration. That what happened on January 6th was far worse than what happened in the war, in the aftermath of the Iraq war, or worse than 9/11. Like, people are actually saying these things because they were Americans, guys. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Millions of dead Iraqis and millions of fucking civilians, right, would actually beg to fucking differ. And then thousands and thousands of soldiers who came home with PTSD and then killed themselves, or who came home and had a life of misery, or who didn't get to come home, who came home in a casket, or whose families are now living the realities and the effects after all of that for a fucking lie. They beg to fucking differ. January 6th was not a fucking insurrection. That is an insult to the people that we destroy on the daily. This country, this government, this group of elites, the 1% of the 1%, the oligarchy, the establishment that plays theater and assembles their little chess pieces on the board and moves their pawns around. It is an insult to say that those people experienced any fucking trauma remotely what the average American experiences, that the average Iraqi, Syrian experiences. It is absolute and total fucking bullshit. It's bullshit. And people swallowing that narrative are doing a disservice to the people who not only put their life on the line, but also the people that lost their lives on a pile of lies. There were no weapons of mass destruction. There was nothing. And when you do that, when I see Palestinians and the way they're treated, when I see Syrians and the way they're treated, when you do that, you do a fucking disservice to humanity. And you're a hypocrite, because that is white supremacy. That is imperialism. That is warmongering. And it angers me to no end that people have the audacity, the American exceptionalism to pretend that they are the center of the fucking universe. Let an immigrant tell you that you are not. That you are not the center of the universe. That your government is despot. And they have gone around the world murdering innocent people. And not even letting you reap the benefits of those murders. They haven't let you reap the benefits. Look around you. Look what's happening. Angers me to no end that these people have the audacity to pretend that a fraction of what they experience in a fraction of a second of what they see on Twitter, on Facebook, is anything remotely close to what we do, to what our country does on our behalf, to what your tax dollars go to. That's what we're told, at least, right? Money isn't even fucking real. The system is rigged. The little guy can't even do what Wall Street hedge funds do every single day. You see it. They see it. Republicans see it. Democrats see it. Libertarians see it. People who don't fucking vote see it. Everybody sees it. Why does nobody do a fucking goddamn thing about it? Because they're fucking scared, and because they easily get duped by propaganda and get duped by people who are set to frame the narrative a certain fucking way. And people like AOC and people like the Democrats and Republicans who are in the establishment and are trying to malign everybody from speaking against our horrible, completely non-transparent election system are to blame. And people who continue to tell you to go back and reform the Democratic Party are to blame. And people who fucking tell you that you need to go vote for another establishment Republican are also to blame. People that want to keep the divide, that want to keep you hating each other, they're to blame too. And they are in the way of an actual working class revolution, an actual revolution that is going to change the system, that is the people coming together and taking power back, as it is dictated in your fucking Constitution, in the Declaration of Independence. That is what needs to happen. And if you want to say this is inciting violence, how is that inciting violence? It's in the fucking Constitution. It's really, truly, I mean, I just can't wrap my head around how so many people have regressed in the progressive movement into being complete and total sycophants and worshippers of a politician, just like people were sycophants and worshippers of a monarchy thousands of years ago. Like, humanity needs to evolve. We're on the brink of either succumbing or evolving. And I haven't even begun talking about climate catastrophe. We're on this breaking point where we're either going to go this way or we're going to go that way. And humans need to evolve. And there are some that are evolving. But there's also really, really dark people and dark powers that manipulate people and that have a vested interest in crushing everybody, because guess what? You can buy tickets to the fucking moon now. You can buy tickets. If you're rich enough, you can buy tickets to the moon. That is not science fiction. You can actually start buying tickets into space. The future is letting people die and people going off and doing what they can because they have the resources. You are nothing to them. There's this globalist capitalist mentality that, you know, if you watch what we spoke about when it comes to the Great Reset and Davos, you'll be able to see exactly what they intend on doing, right? And they'll put a pretty wonderful face on it, but it's bad. It's really, really bad. And it sounds like science fiction, but it's not. And if you pay attention, and if you've been watching, you know, great shows out there like Slow News Day, and if you've been watching several independent media who has covered that, like The Last American Vagabond on Rokfin, because they got their channel taken down too, because They actually talk about shit that nobody talks about. You'll know about this stuff. And if you want to have an open mind, by all means, it's there. It's right there. The World Economic Forum. You can watch it yourself and see what you think of it. Capitalism is, it's imperialism is its form, right? Like this is how the world runs. This is why I'm so against capitalism, because it's a for-profit system. No matter how many regulations you put on it, the definition is to put profits above everything else and exploit resources. That doesn't mean that you can't have an economy in a different system. It's just you change the type of economic system. It's all it is. And I would love to talk to conservatives about that, because they should hear my ideas. That's actually how we progress. That's actually how you change minds. People who don't want you to do that don't want people to get information. They just want to live in a fucking echo chamber where people regurgitate what they already believe in. I've changed my views on certain things. I used to be more like, well, we have to be careful about certain speeches. We can't let Nazis. No, I changed my views since I was younger, because I got more information and I was able to say, you know what, like, this is wrong. Like, we shouldn't be doing that. Why can't people do the same? Why can't people fix what initially they thought? It doesn't make any sense, guys. So, 1 second. I'm going to try to see if I can read some super chats. All right. So, Molly Magnuson, thank you so much for the super ray, not super chat. I truly appreciate it. Let me see. Why can't I see? Okay, there we go. Revolutionary Koala, thank you so much for the super ray contribution. Julie Mazels, thank you so much for the super ray contribution. Hunter Carranza, thank you so much for the super chat, or super ray. I don't want to say super chat because we don't have YouTube. The Gone Girl. King Macron is going after social media for fomenting hate speech. Nothing to do with his austerity measures. He's upset because it's the space where yellow vest anti-security law protesters organize. Controlling the narrative is the game and squashing dissent is the method. So be it. Government pushing on or social media doing it, we must resist. Exactly. And I know you're in France, and we have emulated our sort of revolutionary tactics in America from France, and we have a lot to learn because this country is still pretty fucking young. But Macron is a neoliberal, and at least people are fighting. It's I've heard so much of what's going on over there, and it really, like, it's really doing a disservice to pretend that it's happening only here, right? Like, there are people all over the world fighting against neoliberalism, this global capitalist mentality, this neocon or pro-imperialist take. So we're not the only ones, and we could stand to learn a lot from that. Emblem Fate, I'm going to say it correctly, not Emblem Fate, just left a neo-progressive comment section, was told the Trump/Taliban deal was bad because we don't negotiate with terrorists. The synthetic left is crazy. No, MPP's failure doesn't mean we reform the unreformable. It means we follow Fred Hampton's and Panther's example and be an independent force. 100% agree. I'm right there with you. Exactly. The last thing it means is you go back into the fucking party that caused its disruption in the first place. And Emblem Fate again, white liberals are the most dangerous thing in the entire Western Hemisphere. It is like the fox and wolf. You can see the fox coming, but the wolf smiles at you like he's a friend. Malcolm X. I know who Repubs are, and so did X. He dealt with the Klan, and he still said libs are worse because they pretend to care. 100%. And I take a lot of my views from the Black Panthers. I mean, the Rainbow Coalition. We've been talking about them forever on the show. People just started Googling them when we decided to say something. And I already thanked Molly Magnuson. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate you hearing my rants. I wish I could have you guys read your super chats. I'm not gonna marry you, Doug. I'm sorry. Because you live in Orlando and I really don't want to live there. But maybe I'll adopt you once I have more money. No, Fee is not married. What? I am not married. Okay, Johnny, is there any way you can see if anything came on the thing? Okay. All right, guys. So tomorrow we're going to have Max Blumenthal on. So make sure to tune in. We're going to start the show at noon, but he will be on around 1. So thank you guys for watching. I will see you soon. Convo out.